The Mississippi Department of Human Services allowed well-connected and wealthy individuals to use up tens of millions of dollars in welfare money from the years 2016 to 2019. And that's according to an audit that was done and an investigation that was also conducted by federal prosecutors. Now, the Mississippi auditor said this, quote, "Temporary assistance for needy families' money helped fund pet projects for the wealthy, including $5 million for a volleyball arena that Favre supported at his alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi." It's worth noting that his daughter has been playing volleyball at that school, or played volleyball at the school starting in 2017. That might have something to do with it, but you guys, Brett Favre, he's rich, right? Like, temporary assistance for needy families is not the category I would consider Brett Favre in. But the volleyball court got built. He got what he wanted. And that money did not go to the insane number of people living in poverty in Mississippi. Let me continue. Another 2.1 million of the temporary assistance for needy families money went toward an attempt to develop a concussion drug by a company in which Favre was an investor. Favre has asked a judge to dismiss him from the lawsuit, with his attorney arguing that the Department of Human Services, not Favre, is responsible for grossly improper and unlawful handling of welfare funds. By the way, Favre is not facing criminal charges. Now, who else was involved in stealing this money from the poor to give to the rich? Let's take a look.
On the far left is former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. He was the man in charge of the state of Mississippi when all of this went down. Now, next to him is John Davis, the state's former welfare agency director. Then next is Nancy New. She was the head of a nonprofit in Mississippi that worked with the state welfare agency. And then next to her is, of course, Brett Favre, former NFL quarterback and Mississippi native. They're all caught up in an alleged welfare fraud scheme that, to the Mississippi State Auditor, says involved the misuse of more than $70 million. Favre allegedly writing in one text, "Nancy, Santa came today and dropped some money off." The messages don't indicate Favre knew exactly where the cash was coming from, though. Then just last week, Davis pled guilty to several federal and state charges. In the plea, Davis also agreed to fully cooperate with prosecutors as they pursue the case further.
How insanely gross is it that these individuals, and I'm talking about the actual officials, politicians in Mississippi, tell people living in poverty, tell people who are suffering, whose children are going hungry, that they need to pick themselves up by the bootstraps, that they are ideologically opposed to government handouts, that people just need to work harder, that living in poverty is really their own fault, and that the federal government or the state government really shouldn't subsidize them because of their laziness or whatever, their poor decisions, whatever excuses they come up with to avoid helping our fellow Americans in need. And then at the same time, they've got no problem misusing that money that is supposed to be used for people in poverty to build nonsense things like a volleyball court. Listen, no offense to the volleyball players out there. It's a lovely sport. I hope you all have lovely volleyball courts, okay? Welfare money should not be used for your volleyball court under any circumstance, okay? That money is supposed to help people in need. And that is not what happened in Mississippi, where poverty is overrepresented, especially when you compare their poverty rate to the national average. Let's get to some of those numbers right now, okay? First off, people living in poverty in Mississippi have to jump through significant hoops just to get approved for a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of assistance. So keep in mind the millions of dollars that was allocated for Brett Favre's cute little project. And then compare it to this. So TANF, or temporary assistance for needy families, is for families that have at least one child younger than 18. To qualify in Mississippi, the household income must be at or below 185% of the federal poverty level. The current upper income limit for a family of three people is $680 a month. $680 a month if you qualify in Mississippi. Okay, you have to jump through hoops for it. But when it comes to Brett Favre and his volleyball arena, I'm sorry, it wasn't a court, it was an arena, to be fair. $5 million for the volleyball arena. $680 a month for a needy family that is living at or below the poverty rate, 185% of the federal poverty rate. Okay, great. When people do qualify, it's honestly insulting. So the Nonpartisan Congressional Research Service said that in 2020, New Hampshire had the highest TAMP payment in the country, which was $862 a month for a single parent with one child. Mississippi's monthly payment for a family of two was $146. In 2021, Mississippi, thankfully, luckily, increased its payments by $90 per month per family, the state's first increase since 1999. And the Associated Press did some good work here. They researched some poverty statistics from 1982 through 2021, and it shows that Mississippi was the poorest state for 19 of those 40 years. In 2021, the US poverty rate, meaning the federal poverty rate, was 11.6%. Mississippi's was the highest in the nation, 17.4%. You've got people in Jackson, Mississippi, who don't even have access to safe, clean drinking water. And these government officials decided to take that money that was allocated specifically for people in need, give those people in need a middle finger, and then give the wealthy that same money so they can build their volleyball arenas and what have you. These politicians are sick. They're self-interested, they're narcissists, they have no interest in making this country a better place. And what really has failed voters in this country is how the media provides cover for them until it's too late, until these clowns get elected. George Santos in New York is a great example. Super grateful that the New York Times decided to do an investigation into who, newly elected Congressman George Santos is after he got elected. But I would venture to say that the voters in his district deserve to know about his lies and his fraud prior to the election happening. It's gross. The media has failed us. Our institutions fail us. When you look at how people in Mississippi are getting screwed over and how they're dealing with this pain and suffering day in and day out with no real representation, it gives you a sense of how broken our political system is on a state and federal level.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.